Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Fear of Rain. And this is a new film from writer-director Castille Landon, and is about a young woman named Rain who deals with schizophrenia, and she doesn't want to be on her medications, she's having tension with her parents, she's trying to go back to school, and she sees a little girl in the attic of her teacher's home, which is right next door. And this film has that kind of Rear Window vibe, plus you add in like Beautiful Mind, dealing with all of that, and plenty of family drama, and then she's falling in love with this young guy from school. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. In general, I think Landon struggles a bit in terms of balancing all these pieces and trying to keep them straight and not muddying the water, because the tricky thing is, because of the main idea of this young woman having schizophrenia, it's hard to keep track of what's supposed to be real or not. And it is on purpose. It's supposed to be building tension. This film is billed as like a horror thriller, and it's trying to build that tension and that mystery and that intrigue, but it can get confusing at times, and it's not exactly transitioning well in between what's supposed to be real and what's not supposed to be real. And yes, there are some really solid reveals, which there's one big reveal about 2/3 of the way through the film that honestly kind of felt coming. It's like I had moments throughout the film where I'm just like, something seems a little off about that, but I never really thought deeply into it. And then when it was revealed, I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense. It wasn't something that was so obviously telegraphed, so it did a fine job in building up that tension. But after a while, because you spent so much time building up this schizophrenia, that you kind of get distracted with all these other subplots from what I guess is supposed to be the main story here of, like, is there a little girl next door who's being held hostage by her neighbor slash teacher? And you're just like, after a while, you're like, am I even supposed to believe this is real or not? Should I even care at this point? Is it just to build tension because this young woman is feeling like she's just seeing things everywhere because she won't take her medication and things just keep progressing? But what really works most about the film is it's a really committed performance of Madison Iseman, who has been in Jumanji and Annabelle Comes Home and Clouds, and she does such a fine job in this film. She sells the tension and sells the struggle with what's happening or not. She plays that leading role in this very committed and very realistic. I didn't really question like, oh, she seems like she's acting. It felt natural, and that, I give her a lot of credit. She's a young actress and she really carries it. And then you have her parents. You have Katherine Heigl, who I don't think really adds a whole lot to the role or not as the mother. She seems really downplayed for most of the film. And then you have Harry Connick Jr., who plays her dad. I think I would have liked to see more of a seasoned actor playing this role, because there's some emotional heavy lifting this character has to do, especially in certain moments in the film. And I'm like, Harry Connick Jr. is doing an okay job, but like, could have had somebody who has a little more presence and experience in roles like this. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Harry Connick Jr. in a film where he had to carry like that load. He was like the comic relief in Independence Day. So like that, I don't think was the best casting. And then you have this subplot with this young guy that you meet at school, played by Israel Broussard, who, this young man, Caleb, he's really believable and fun and quirky in that way. And they have some nice moments. It feels like there's too many kind of subplots for like a 92-minute movie. So like, is that one the one that kind of gets pushed to the side in my mind. Yeah, you feel more connected to what's going on with her family, and you feel more connected. I guess what you're supposed to feel more connected is what's going on next door, or what's not going on next door, because you don't know. And this movie will keep you guessing until the end. And even if that guessing isn't done in the best way. In general, it still builds tension, and this film does build tension. What really bothers me is how obnoxious it can be in terms of the horror scenes, where, boy, does that music get loud and obnoxious. The sound editing and sound mixing of those scenes is so obnoxious and so over the top that it just took me out of the movie when it was like getting scary, and it would be like, whoa! And I'm just like, no, calm down. And I feel like that's a sign of somebody who's not very confident in a thriller horror genre, because it's really relying upon pull back a curtain and make a really loud noise. And that's what happens. And it takes away from what could have been a really well done, well built, suspenseful, tense scene, and just makes it come off cheesy and obnoxious. And I didn't really get scared by it, because you're just like, you get scared in a way that feels really cheap and unsatisfying, instead of like, I'm building tension, I'm feeling tense. No, that's not what you get. You're just like, oh my god, mute it. That's how I felt not just a couple times, like almost every single time that they tried to put in like a scare in the film. It just felt so obnoxious and over the top. But in the end, I feel like this film is an okay effort from Castille Landon, who shows some promise. There's certain things that need some work on, especially when it comes to those more horror elements in the film. But I think there's enough here, especially with Iseman's lead performance, to make this a worthwhile experience. And I would definitely go check out Fear of Rain. But those are my thoughts on Fear of Rain. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.